Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing a Mad Jack's 3.5-inch lift kit on a 2012 Club Car Precedent, as well as the heavy-duty leaf spring kit for the rear. The 3.5-inch lift kit will give us enough clearance to install these massive 22 by 10.5-inch tires. So to get started, let's get it up on jack stands. Now that we've got it secured on jack stands, we'll remove all 4 hubcaps and all 4 tires. So we've got all 4 tires removed. We've got it on jack stands. I've got the lift kit out of the box. I see it comes with instructions. Hopefully we won't need those. And what we'll do is we'll remove our stock bumper and stock front end components and see where all the new parts fit in. Now that we've got the front bumper removed, it's a lot easier to see the front end components. So basically, I chose this A-arm lift kit over the conventional spindle lift kit. They handle a lot better, it'll give it a lot better ride and more stability. So we're basically going to remove everything you see here, and our Mad Jack's kit is a complete swap over. So we'll replace the leaf spring, we'll replace our spindle mounts, and our lower control arms. These are actually for the back. That's going to go around our rear axle housing, and that'll give us our lift in the back of the cart. So that's what I get for not following the instructions. I'm under here just removing bolts like crazy, thinking I'm doing the right thing. Actually, you do not need to remove these 4 bolts. I had 3 of them out before I realized that. You do have to loosen the rack and pinion, and that is to access your upper control arm bolt and slide that out. So I'll go ahead and put the 3 bolts in that I didn't need to take out. We're actually going to remove these 4 and drop the leaf spring assembly out so we can put our Mad Jack's assembly up. So the next step is to install our new upper control arms, and those will mount, of course, in the position that the old factory units were. I like this kit also because it has the adjustable heim joints for your caster and camber. We'll mount this unit up in place where the old spring assembly was. They do supply longer bolts, obviously, because you're going through not only this plate, but you're also going through the original spring holder. So we'll mount that up in place, we'll put our lower control arms in, and we'll see where we're at. So I've got the lower control arm assembly mounted in, and unless you have superhuman strength like me, I strongly suggest using a floor jack to help support that while you get the bolts started. It is pretty simple. The whole assembly just bolts in from underneath with the 4 bolts. So now we've got our lower control arms. We've got our upper control arms in. Let me get the light in here so you can see. And those just mount in the factory positions. The next step is to put our spindles in, and what that's going to do, of course, is give us our lift, but it also, like I said earlier, has these nice heim joints so we can adjust everything in place. So we'll go ahead and do that next. Well, that was pretty straightforward, went very well. We've reattached our spindles. This is our new spindle, giving us our lift onto our new upper control arm. We've attached our shock. We've got our lower control arm. Everything is in place. I did loosen the heim joint nuts just a little bit. That way, if we have to do any adjustment with the caster camber, we've got room to do that. The next step is to install the factory hubs onto the spindles. Okay, so I removed the stock hub assemblies from the stock spindle. I did have to give it a little tappy tap on one side just to get them loose. Not real impressed with the sound of the bearings in these. I may end up having to replace the bearings. But for now, we're gonna slide it on the spindle and get everything going so you can see what it looks like. And if worst case scenario, I can come back and redo that later. Now the front is basically ready to get tires put on, but we're going to move to the back and get the back done before we do that. There will be some adjustments necessary to get the alignment just right, but we'll deal with that a little bit later. So moving on to the back, I did buy heavy-duty leaf springs because I am adding a rear seat. You'll notice this is a 4-leaf setup. The factory setup, is just a single leaf. So that's going to give us plenty of suspension for our passengers so it doesn't drag on the ground and the tires rub when we go over bumps and things like that. So we're going to start on the passenger side by removing the factory leaf spring, factory U-bolts, disconnecting our shock to make room for the lift kit and the new leaf spring set. Getting the factory components out was pretty straightforward. The U-bolt, the shock bolt, 2 spring bolts. Now we're going to install the new heavy-duty leaf spring along with our lift kit components. For the most part, the passenger side is done. I have to leave things loose because of the angle of the axle right now. I have to get the other side loose and bring that down to get everything to kind of line up right where I can tighten it all down. So we'll move to the driver's side, do basically the exact same process, and then we'll be able to snug everything up and get the tires on. So the driver's side is fighting me just a little bit, and I think what's happening is something I read about where sometimes you have to switch these brake cables from side to side when doing the lift to get everything to line up, because my U-bolt is not wanting to line up with that bottom bracket. So we'll work on that. Also, it's pretty heavy here because we've got the whole weight of the motor for the cart. I've got the jack underneath here to help support, and it's just fighting me as it rocks around a little bit. but we'll get everything adjusted and be back soon. Okay, so found the problem as to why I was not getting it to align up just right. This U-bolt from the lift kit was actually squeezed maybe in shipping, or they didn't adjust it right, so I couldn't get it drop through my bracket because nothing was lining up. So I did what anyone would do and put it around my foot, gave it a pull, stretched it out. So now the bolts are dropped through and everything should line up just right. We'll get everything snugged up, get our shock bolt back through, and we should be all done. Well, there you have it. The MadJack's 3.5-inch lift kit is installed. Looks 100 times better already, and I'm really happy with it, happy with the quality of the product, and it's looking great. I only had a couple of nuts and bolts left over, and I'll probably do what any normal guy would do and just throw that in the extra hardware bin for another project. Here's our front suspension that we removed, and the rear springs. And we replaced those with heavy duty so that we can add the back seat. So the next step for this cart is going to be an all new body, white body, and it's an alpha kit, so it's going to completely change the way this cart looks. I also have to finish the back seat, reupholster that. For those that watched the last episode where we reupholstered the bottom seat, I did set it out in the sun and got all the wrinkles out of it. It looks amazing. I still have to do the alignment, adjust the wheels. It is sitting just a little funny, but that's not a big deal. So hope you're enjoying the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and watch the progress. And that's going to do it for this episode of Kart Crazy, and we'll see you next time.